A very, very good morning to all YouTubers and friends who are watching. It's 7:19 a.m., 14th of January 2026. So, how is everyone doing today? I hope you're all doing fine. And it's Y2K with another video while I'm driving to work. So, sometimes you might get to see the road, and sometimes you might get to see me talking like this to you. So you can put your feedback in the comments and say, if you'd rather see the road, let me know, or if you'd rather see me talking to you like this, it's fine. But today's subject will be understanding probably one part, okay? So part one of understanding an elderly who's being scammed. Now, let me put a few disclaimers first. Number one, I'm not a doctor, all right? I'm not an MD. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not an expert in geriatric psychology, but what I can share with you is what I've observed in elderly who are actually in the midst of being scammed or are already involved in the scam. When I use the word involved, it's either they're already a victim or they are so-called, they're part of it indirectly, but they didn't know that they're part of a scam. For example, their bank accounts are being used by scammers as money mules, and they are actually saying, "Oh, I'm just helping someone to put money or to put money away and keep money away." So this video will be focusing on the signs and symptoms of an elderly who is actually in a scam. So let's talk about observations first. So if they're using a smartphone, okay, most of them will probably be using a smartphone. You will notice the change in their behavior is that they're always on their smartphones and they're communicating to people that maybe when you walk past them, they're very secretive, like they want to cover the screen with their hands, or they just pretend to put it down, use a newspaper to cover, use anything to cover the phone so you can't see the chat screen. Maybe they get one of those privacy screens, and you ask her, "Oh, who are you communicating with?" They say, "Oh, just a friend, just a friend." Look at the body language, the eyes, the way the elderly, your loved ones are moving their body, the way they're speaking, the tone, the pitch, the body language. Leave no stone unturned. Scrutinize everything. Especially when you notice that and then one of the things, if you really want to say, you really want to keep track of it all, the best way, keep your eyes on their bank accounts. Now, for those children out there, okay, whether you're an adult children, you're a teenage children, and you're thinking, "Oh yes, I'm going to have, I'm going to take my papa, my mama's money, because they've been treating me bad and everything." Well, evil begets evil. So if you know what I mean, So sometimes you need to be careful of the way that you dispense your own version of justice, because things have certain ways of biting back to you. So I would say monitor their e-banking accounts, because for sure you'll be able to see some shifts, some changes in their e-banking account, like massive amounts of money are going out, and then you can quiz her, ask them, "Wait, who are you sending money to? Are you buying a product? Are you buying a service? Where's the product? Where's the service? Where is the invoice?" All right. The real truth is that, we have to extend ourselves this far because we need to be able to see a lot of things. And one aspect to seeing that thing is getting involved in early intervention. When you notice signs and symptoms of the elderly spending way too much time on their smartphone, just chatting with people. If they're watching videos, it's one thing. But if they're constantly chatting to people, and they're not chatting to people they know, then there's something really wrong there. You need to find out why. Because these scammers, the first thing they prey on the elderly. What do we know about the elderly when they get old? They're maybe, not to generalize, maybe they're lonely, maybe they're frail, they're vulnerable mentally and physically. And most of the time when you're alone, especially when you're not a person who engages in a lot of hobbies or have routines, habits, schedules, you don't keep a tempo of things that you're doing, at some point you're going to be very bored. And the boredom creates the requirement for drama, which is actually quite very true. And I observed my own family member who was involved in the scam. They feel this perpetual need. I use the word perpetual, is because they find that their life is so mundane and so bored. But the truth is that mundaneness and that boredom was actually peace and happiness. It is just that they're taking it for granted. And that is the sad part. That some of these elderly, and if you're an elderly, you're watching this and you're feeling very insulted by it, well, you can take it or you can leave it or you can click the X button and you can go. It's a free will. I'm not living in the States. I would love to say it's a free country or whatever, right? Whatever your thoughts on the States or any other countries are, that's irrelevant at this point. But let's stay on topic. If you're not happy that someone's calling you out, as an elderly, you're watching videos, you try to understand scams and all these things. How do you know this person? All right? This person you've met, 5 days, 1 week, 1 month, 2 years? Have you actually met the person, sat down in person a number of times, talked to the person, and actually met them F to F, face to face? Yes, no? If you haven't done that, and you're thinking, this is my friend, we've been chatting digitally, this is not, online dating. And if you're doing online dating, at some point, you've got to meet physically, face to face. You can't just be constantly remote. Because you wouldn't be giving money to someone you've never met. You wouldn't be giving money to someone you don't know. You wouldn't be giving money to somebody that you don't trust. And you wouldn't be giving money to someone you've never even, met in your life or understand your needs, spoken to you. And even if they're speaking to you, sometimes divulging way too much personal information is going to be the downfall of yourself, as an individual or as an elderly. If you're watching this, I'm trying to be respectful here, but if you're going to feel insulted that people give you feedback and criticism and comments, well, nothing I can do about it. I welcome feedback and comments every time, as long as they are, irrelevant to the subject, as long as they are critical to the subject, and that's the thing. Let me get a nice sip of coffee, and today we're having black coffee with a dash of cinnamon. And the thing about coffee with a dash of cinnamon makes it very Christmassy. Yeah. Christmas feel, And for those of you who are wondering, if you're watching this first time, where I'm from, I'm actually from Singapore. I lived here for 39 years. And I actually have studied overseas for a number of years, but that's not important right now. Yeah. Because today's topic is on signs and symptoms of elderly who are being scammed. So the next thing that I would advise you to look at is to steal a peek at your elderly smartphone. If you can, actually go and take a peep and see what they're actually reading on their phones. Because the truth is that the moment they become very secretive, the moment they're very sensitive to you criticizing or asking about the people they're chatting with, the so-called friends, remote friends on the smartphone or on a laptop or anything, or even on Facebook, you need to be very careful. And let me guarantee you this, 95% of the scammers, they scour Craigslist, in Singapore they use Carousel, maybe they use Property Guru, or they use any other things, or any other platforms to basically create friends, make friends and try and warm up to people. And they prey on the vulnerabilities of elderly and say, oh, why are you still working at this age? You should do this, you should, you should do this. Because you can earn money. Why are you working so hard? you invest with me, you don't need to work so hard anymore. Bada bing, bada boom. Wow, you're like, wow, I can invest and I don't need to worry about it because you know what? I can make a lot of money without working so hard. And that is what these scammers are doing. They're preying on the greed. They're preying on, I'm not saying that everybody, who got scammed is greedy, but at some point you're thinking, maybe I can earn more. I can earn more for this, for my children. I can earn more for my wife, my husband, or my parents, in any way. And the thing is that there is no such thing as a free lunch. That free lunch, even if you throw in $50 or anything, you're not going to get $100,000 back in 50 bucks. That's impossible. That's impossible. Now, of course, the economists, the people who dabble in stock trading and all that, won't have this statement about what I'm saying about $50 and having $100,000 returns. However, might I remind you that if you don't monitor your elderly's habits and they're constantly on the phone, that is already the dangerous part, because you have no idea what they're doing. You have no idea what they're saying to the other person, and you might have to steal a glance at it when they're not looking at the phone. Regardless about privacy and all these things, let me tell you about privacy. All right, aside from Big Brother, the government monitoring you, that's a whole different subject. But family, okay? Parents watching on your children watching your elderly parents, or maybe you're just a caregiver and you're wondering, is the elderly you're caring for vulnerable? And you're worried because you've asked questions, you've seen the body language, they're very evasive, they can't answer certain things, and they're very easily confused, they can't memorize things, and they're constantly trying to go out and do certain funny things that's really out of the schedule. One thing there, before I forget, is their daily routines and schedules. You see something changing. You see they're going out a lot. You see them going to the banks. You see them going to do this, going to Western Union, going to do like money transfer, okay? Anything that's got to do with money transfer, especially because the whole idea of a scam is to get your money. What, you thought they're going to come and give you roses? And the key part about this is some of these scammers are so smart, right? They prey on the elderly, especially elderly males and, females as well. And what they do is that they can spend $300 giving you a big bouquet of poisonous flowers. And I use the poisonous is because it is poisonous flowers. Even if it's not poisonous, it has motive, it has intent, it is poison. It is meant to show you that, oh, I love you because I give a bunch of flowers. They can spend $300, $400, or $500 on a bouquet of flowers, but you know how much they're scamming from you? Thousands, tens of thousands of dollars. Think about it for a second, all right? Think about it for a second. So, if they're going to be giving you a cake, they maybe give you bags and all these things. Now, of course, you're not going to give me Hermes bag because the Hermes bag costs thousands already. But if you're a millionaire, and you know what? Scammers have really lots of money. So where do you think that money is coming from? From other victims they have scammed. Right? So watch your elderlies, friends. Watch your elderlies. Don't, especially your kids, as your teen kids too. Teenage kids are suggestive. And my advice, especially with elderly, is that the approach has to be very, very strategic. The approach has to be very targeted. Because if you don't, the moment they're in it, it's only a slippery slope before they go neck deep in it. And once they go neck deep in it, coming out is even harder. When I use the word coming out, is getting out of the whole scam thing, because you don't know how much they've lost, and which is why I'm saying that the bank account monitoring is important. Because when you monitor the bank account, all right, if you have a shared joint account with your parents or a shared bank account with your kids, look at the bank account if they're making strange transactions weekly, daily, okay, monthly, and you realize that they used to spend like maybe $100 a week for kids, and then maybe $500 for an adult or an elderly, and suddenly you're seeing like 600, 700, 800, and they're moving transactions daily to various accounts. Okay, another key sign about the money movement is when they're making money transactions to accounts. They have no idea who these people are. Okay, they just give money to random, say somebody with name as like Dick, Harry, or whatever, and then or say Esther or whatever names, or funny names, and then suddenly these people, they don't even know they're giving money to them. Why are they giving money to these random people? Nobody knows. And that is the thing I'm trying to emphasize to you guys, is that you need to watch your elderlies very carefully. And I think that especially for those of you who are viewing from Singapore, they talk a lot about everything about scam. Click when you go to any banking website, there's scam messages. You go to any there's scam websites. But, all right, I will be doing another video about aesthetics, places that does aesthetic treatments, and I'll tell you about the dark, bad secret about these places in Singapore, or maybe in other places around the world, where they're only interested in making money. They don't care whether you can pay or not. But the truth is that means your business is not running with ethics at all. And you can't blame people when they can't pay for your packages, because the fact of the matter remains is your packages are overpriced and overhyped and overrated. Ooh, we're back in the light. Back in the light. It's wonderful. So I hope today's topic, as preachy, as naggy as I can be, the problem is that you remember when you were a teenager, you were a kid, and your parents were nagging at you? Well, for those of us who sort of like flip the coin around, and we're doing a different thing now, we're the ones, telling our parents, don't do this, don't do that, and everything. We're the ones who are being naggy now. Yeah, we're the ones being naggy, we're the ones being annoying, and be like, why are you always interrupting my life? Why can't you mind your own business? Sure, I'll mind my own business when you don't go spending your retirement pension or your retirement monies for some random man or woman who's from some random crappy place and trying to scam your money, And the thing is that you need to monitor the phone logs, because the scammers can come from anywhere. Social media, okay? If you want to talk about the sources of where they come from, social media, okay? Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, plenty of them are now tapping on all these social media just so that they can be able to see what's happening in there. And they can try and scam people, they can do whatever they want, because frankly they know that the elderly is vulnerable. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Y2K being preachy self today, comment below if you'd like to hear more of these FTF talks, and if you'd rather look at the road and the scenery, or you want to see me for 15-20 minutes just talking to you like this, why not? Let me know. Because, and if you have interesting subjects and topics you want to ask me, and if they're relevant, if I have some info, I have some statistics I can pull up, I don't mind just using it as a content subject here, and we can have a chit chat over here, and I'd be happy to, to give you my point of view, different perspective, and how things are like in a different part of the world. This is Y2K signing off. And as I always said, watch your elderlies. Okay, let's summarize and recap today before I say goodbye, all right? The summary and the recap today is, when you want to catch your elderly who is actually involved in a scam, or is a victim of a scam, or is still being a victim of a scam, all right? Number one, look at their body language. Number two, look at the way that they're communicating on their smartphones or their mobile phones. Number three, watch their bank accounts, changes in any transactions, right? The expenditure goes up mysteriously, they're giving money to random people, and they're sending money without, to companies with no invoices, no services, no products, nothing. All right, that's the third sign. The fourth sign, all right, is a very defensive behavior from the elderly when you're questioning them about a specific person that they're chatting with. they're very defensive, they're very evasive, they don't want to answer you, they're giving you, like mind your own business stuff. This temperament, okay, this mood, is probably something that has been stirred up and can be influenced by the scammer. Let me tell you, these buggers are really, really, really crafty and sketchy, and they don't care about your elderlies or your kids. All they care about is income. They don't care about your elderlies at all. So it's down to you and me to be proactive in that. So with that recap done, next most important thing is that you need to talk, you need to be very harsh and straightforward with, dealing with the situation early. The early intervention into an elderly, a victim of a scam who is an elderly, is critical, absolutely critical. Because if you don't deal with it early and they're neck deep in it, this thing, it's like a possession. Okay, it's once they're in neck deep, all right, or nose deep in here in the scam, telling them about this is a scam, they have convinced themselves over time that this isn't a scam. That person loves me. This person cares about me. Oh yes, one other thing outside of the signs and symptoms is if you notice your elderly receiving random gifts from people that they have no idea who they are. Flowers, personal gifts. I'm saying personal gifts, yeah? It's not going to be anything way too expensive. You can probably get it for cheap, maybe about a few $100s, like a bouquet of flowers, fruits basket, a hamper or something. And suddenly you're getting all these gifts, and you're getting all these gifts. Where are they coming from? Where are they coming from? Question it. And sometimes these gifts don't come with any return address. There's no return address. There is no phone number. There is no details. That's a warning sign. All right? So, keep an eye on your elderlies. It's up to you and me to keep them safe from scams. We can't just rely on, apps, smart apps, and then, safeguarding apps, phone guarding apps, scam apps, anti-scam apps and all these things. Apps can only do so much. If you open the door, right, to the robber or the murderer, it's the same as you opening the door to let them in yourself. Because those apps, those safeguards, they can only come in if, number one, you open the door. However, so when you open the door on your smartphone to them, you allow them, and you talk to them, or you join the group that they invite you to join the group, then boom, your loved one is in it. They're in it, all right? The only way out is to pull them out, disconnect it by force, delete the app, wash it off. All right, so I'll do another video about all these about aesthetic clinics, and all the clinics that do special treatments, and a lot of elderlies in Singapore, they love it. And I'll probably give you some locations here where to avoid such places where they are very hard selling on your loved ones. Stay tuned, guys. Be safe, be smart, care for your elderlies, and most importantly, self-care for yourself. Because at the end of the day, your boss ain't gonna care about you. You gotta care about yourself. Because we respect ourselves enough that we have to take care of ourselves. And that's the most important thing. Till the next time, Y2K signing off then. Be safe.